until like 7:30, correct? Okay.
Yeah, I can push it a little bit because I probably need like 10 minutes to,
For sure.
visit the little men's room because I drink a lot.
Okay. Well, you let me know.
Yeah. So I would say 7:45. That's good.
Okay, cool. Sounds great. Because I've got millions of questions for you. Obviously.
Fire away. Ask them.
Hi, everybody. So we talked a little bit on the phone, I don't know, 4 or 5 days ago.
Yep.
I can't keep track of time. And first of all, would you actually, Roland, like to give an introduction to yourself?
Sure. My name is Roland Mann, and I've been working in comics for, oh my goodness, since the late 80s. So I can't do math. I do words, not numbers. So that was 25, 30 years. I got started thanks to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Those of you who know a little bit of comics history know that the Turtles led an independent comic revolution in the mid 80s. Turtles were published in 86. I had my first publication in 88 and then again in 89. And so I broke in as an independent comic book writer. And then got hired a couple of years later by Malibu Comics. And a lot of people know Malibu because they did Protectors, which I edited, Dinosaurs for Hire, things like that. But they also did the Ultraverse, which you can find all these comics in the dollar bins now. I became a Marvel editor because a few years after that, Marvel bought the company. Now, one of the misconceptions is a lot of people think that Marvel, you can find this all over the internet still, that Marvel bought Malibu for the coloring department. That couldn't be the furthest from the truth. There's no truth in that whatsoever. In fact, Marvel didn't really like or understand the coloring department. It comes down to simple, it was a business move by Marvel because DC was about to buy the company, and had DC bought Malibu, that would have made DC the number one company in market share. And of course, the DC and Marvel battle's been going on forever. So Marvel's like, yeah, no, we're not going to let that happen. And so they bought us to keep us away from DC. That simple.
Yeah.
And so I was a Marvel editor for a couple of years until they declared bankruptcy. And then that's when I decided to start Silverline. Wrong time to start a comic publishing company. Marvel declared bankruptcy, for those of you who know, because the industry crashed. and so I started Silverline. Then I published 13 books in the span of a couple of years, and I lost an awful lot of money. And so in 2001, I called it quits. I said, I'm done with comics. I don't like them anymore. Because my bank account was bleeding.
Yeah, and your bank account doesn't like him anymore.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so I went back to school, got an advanced degree, and started teaching at the university, which is what I do today. I teach university by day and I make comic books by night. A couple of years ago, I wanted to make comics again, and I hooked up with some old buddies who I made comics with back, in the 90s. And after we did one or two Kickstarters, I think it was, I can't remember if it was one or two, they're like, you should start Silverline back. And I'm like, yeah, no, I don't think so. I lost a lot of money. I don't think I'm going to do that. And they're like, we'll help. And I'm like, so they twisted my arm and convinced me to restart Silverline. And I can tell you a number of books, but it's actually more impressive if I show you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So since I relaunched Silverline, I have kickstarted this many books, and we have successfully. Let's see if I can flip through them. We have successfully funded and shipped them all on time. So I'm
you got good
excited.
Reputation.
I'm pretty excited about that. Is that we tell folks. Or what I tell folks is that, you might not like our books. I get it. Different books for different strokes for different folks. But if you back our Kickstarter, the one thing I can promise you is you'll get your book, and you'll get it when we promise that you'll get it.
I didn't even know that was a thing until we backed our first campaign and people were asking questions about it. And it's like, yeah, of course.
Yeah, same. I was really surprised when I was hearing that there's actually a huge, well, I don't know how huge it is, but a pretty sizable issue with that.
It is a problem. It is a problem, unfortunately. In fact, I think I backed my first Kickstarter campaign in 2014, and I'm still waiting on that book.
Oh, wow. So it's actually a pretty prolific issue with not fulfilling.
Well, I'm sorry, say again?
It's kind of a prolific issue with people not fulfilling.
Yes, right. And so people probably get tired of hearing me say that, but for me, from my perspective, I think it's important to know that, look, you like our books, you don't like your books, that's going to be just, reader choice and preference and all that kind of stuff. But you'll get your book. If you back our campaign, you'll get your book. Now, I hope that you will like it. I feel confident that you will like it. But the one thing I can promise you is that you will get it as promised. So
that's important, though, because it speaks to integrity, obviously. So congratulations on that. And
Thank you.
I don't know, Doc, you know more than I do about how much of work it actually is to ship the product.
Well, once you get a system set up, it's not too terribly bad, but you have to have all the product in order to do it. And it's coming from multiple different vendors, depending on which tier package is. So you've got, like, for example, the socks we shipped with ours were misprinted the first time. And I had already promised when they would be getting them. So I got a hold of the vendor, got it corrected, got the new prints in, and still was able to get it in the mail on time.
Yeah. Yeah. Our biggest issue has been, I don't know if you can see this very well over here. I've got a T-shirt over here. And we've only started doing T-shirts within the last, I want to say 3 campaigns. And we really, really were hesitant because we're like, okay, that's something new. We can't, we're small. I can't just order 100 T-shirts and have them sit in my floor in hopes that somebody will order them. So our T-shirts are like our comics. They're print on demand. So I don't order the T-shirt until a campaign is over. And then I'm like, okay, so what size do you need? And then I tell my vendor, here's what I need, right? So we were really worried about that. And I did have, now the first campaign with the T-shirts went fine. The second campaign with the T-shirts, he ran about 2 weeks late. So the beauty of
2 weeks
is, Yeah, but the beauty of this is, though, so like this campaign, this campaign is February, March, April. So this campaign, our ship date is April. Okay. So the beauty of this is that the way I have everything kind of scheduled out, we're looking to ship the first week of April. 2 weeks late, I'm still in April. Yeah. Right. So I can theoretically still be a little late by my schedule, but still make my window that I promised the Kickstarter. I've only ever had one problem shipping a few packages, and that was when we do a book called Kalis, and the art team is from Venezuela.
Oh, wow.
No, I'm sorry, Argentina. And when COVID happened, their government just shut down. I mean, just flat shut down.
Did they have any internet or anything?
They had internet, but they didn't have their post office. They would not take packages. They would not ship things out. And so we had to wait approximately 6 months before I could get the artwork from him to do. We had about 6 backers. Let me ask you this. What do you mean you got the art? You actually deal with physical artwork, not digital artwork? Oh yeah. You see all this right here? This is all original artwork right here.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Is that how you guys typically do your comics?
No. We do it. It's really kind of half and half. People like original art, and so what we try to do is we try to have some tiers that have some original art. So for instance, my longtime buddy Thomas Flormonti, who is an inker, he's the guy who inked the Cape Town cover there. What he'll do is, like, he's inking a book now, our Silverline team up. He'll go through the book, and there are 22 pages, and he'll ink most of it digitally, but he'll pick out the exciting pages, right? And he'll ink those physically so that we have physical rewards for the Kickstarter.
And then he just makes prints of them, or or you actually give out the original
The
paper?
original art. They get the original art. Yep.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very cool.
Yeah, and that's that's part of the attraction of owning a piece of original art is it's one of a kind. Right. You have the only piece in existence.
So how many campaigns have you said you've done?
This is number 22.
And how many
years? Right now? Well, I'm sorry?
In how many years?
We started, I think, I had to go back and look. I want to say that we started in 19. So 19, 20, 21, 22. I guess this is the fifth year.
Yeah.
So we're starting on year 5.
Yeah. Okay, so that's
you're doing more than one a quarter.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So last year we did one every other month. All right.
Oh. Okay.
This year our original plan this year was to do 4 in the year, and we were going to do multiple we were going to combine a bunch of books together, do kind of like Alterna does. I don't know if you follow Alterna.
And we're familiar with what they do.
Yeah, we're kind of going to do bundles. We tried to bundle late last year and it didn't work. So we're like, maybe bundles aren't for us.
Yeah.
And so
go back to with a proven method.
Yes, right. And so so that's what we're back to. We're back to doing 2 books and 1 Kickstarter. That seems to work for us. So
yeah, that's actually a really good idea. That's a good idea with the hybridization. The art that your inker does is a good idea for the hybridization.
Yeah.
I like that. Doc, do you have any questions for Roland about any of his processes or experiences so far? Because I have like a ton of questions.
I'd say I have lots of questions as well, so we can go back and forth if you want.
Okay, you can go first.
Okay, well, one of my questions is by backing all of this, how big is your process? How many people do you have in there? You've mentioned that you have an inker that you bring in and you'll pull out a page that he really likes, ink it by hand, everything else he does digitally. But do you also have the line artist, the concept art? How many people goes into the process of making a book for you?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm old school in that, I was brought up in the days of the traditional process, pre-internet and pre a lot of the digital stuff. So what we have on every project is we have a writer, a penciler, an inker, a colorist, a letterer, and then of course we have an editor, but they rarely get credit. We don't give them screen credit. So we have the 5 key creative processes. Sometimes the penciler and the inker is the same person. Like on Cape Town, for instance, the line art is done by the same guy. So J.W. Franklin does the pencils and the inks on that. He sent me. I have files where he did all the pencils, all the layout, but they're rough because he's inking them.
Yeah.
But generally we have 5 people involved in the process.
Okay, on average per book.
Yes, per book.
What page count do you like to go ahead and shoot for that you've seen works fine for you?
22 pages. Yeah, I like 22 pages because
with or without cover. 22 interior pages with the 4 cover. So it's
22. Yeah, 22 and a cover.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that because for a couple of reasons. Okay, so if you know much about traditional printing. Most of you guys probably know this. Most independent comics use digital print on demand. We use where's the comic here? I'll plug my buddies. We use Kablam. They're fantastic. They are they're comic specialty printing. These guys, I've known them for a long time. They specialize in comics, and so you can kind of I think their increments are 4-page increments. So you can do 24. You could do 20, 24, then 28? I can't do math. If you go traditional, however, you have to do 8-page increments. So I live with the dream that one day the comics that we do, I'm not going to be able to print digitally. I'm going to have such a demand that I'm going to have to go and do offset. If I do wonky numbers, then I'm going to have to play with the printing. So I try to do 22 pages. That gives me the 2 extra pages that I can do something with, generally editorial, maybe even sell an ad, possibly, I don't know. But it gives me the 2 extra pages so that I can do a 24-page pagination, 24 with cover, and still do offset.
Oh, brilliant, actually. Simple.
Yeah. I'm hoping to eventually be able to print at least one of our issues on an offset because that's what I want to put in my hand.
Yes, absolutely. I'm there with you.
You're one of the few people in the industry that agree with me on that, so that makes me smile.
I'm telling you, I swear to God, I'm like, Roland he's a treasure chest full of good information. And
how many times have I mentioned the offset or that real thin paper on the inside? And
matter of fact, I have my addresses right here of the people I need to contact already.
Nice. Okay, my turn for a question. I'm gonna get this out of the way real quick, though. This is not one of my.
Do we need to run ads real quick?
Oh, we can do maybe in the middle of the show or more towards.
Okay, no, we're good. Yeah, I just didn't know how that. Yeah.
Okay, but thank you for reminding me. So
don't forget the people to pay the bills, right?
Right. So, Roland, I watched a couple of episodes where you were hosted on different shows before we had our show tonight. And you had some really good commentary about how a comic should be composed and put together as far as like the writing and the editing and so on. And I really, really loved that, all of that, because I geek out about that angle. Cool. So, Wayne was in the comments. He was my guest on the last episode. I purchased one of his books. Who else? I bought, Mike Barron, when he was on, I purchased.
Oh yeah. Love Mike.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yowza.
Can you give me some of your best books that would be good case studies for your your philosophy on comic book curation, so to speak?
Sure. I mean, Cat and Mouse is probably the one that you can look at that has all the elements of story that I kind of preach and talk about. I often talk about, one problem I have with, and you guys have probably seen this, if you read enough, particularly independent comics, if you read enough, you'll see this. I don't need to see the story starting with the character waking up, brushing their teeth, walking their dog. I don't need to see all that. That's boring, right? Get me into the story, right? Get me. You got to. So Denny O'Neil, one of the books I use in my class, right, is the DC Comics Guide to Writing. And one of the things that Denny O'Neil talks about, he talks about this very thing. And for those of you who don't know, Denny O'Neil was like Mr. Batman for many, 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 many years. One of the things he talks about is the hook. And the problem I see in a lot of independent comics is they fail to give you that hook on that first page. And so, because generally the kind of the concept of a comic is kind of this, right? You have a reader who goes into the shop, they see the cover. The cover has to be something that's going to get their attention to make them go, ooh, that looks cool. I'm going to pick this up off the stand from all the other covers that I see. I'm going to pick it up. Right. And then they're going to open the cover. They're going to open the comic and look at that first page. That's where you have to have that hook, right? There has to be something there because they're going to read it, right? They're going to, and then there has to be some kind of hook that make them go, cool. This sounds good. I want to see. And then they're going to flip through it. And if they like the art, right, then they're going to buy the book. Right.
Right.
Now, if the hook is good enough, if the hook is strong enough, and they're like, the art is, but the hook is strong enough, they still might buy the book.
They can overcompensate.
Right. Yeah. And so you'll see that, in Cat and Mouse. One of the other things that you might have heard, I don't know exactly what you listened to, but you might have heard me say was, we have problems. A lot of comics have problems with protagonists with no real goal.
Yes, I loved that. I heard you say that on one show, and I loved that, if I can, for just a second. But you also, in addition to that, said that every good guy has to have a redemption story now.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, because like, what the fuck? Why? I like some of these bad guys, I like specifically because they're bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
Leave them alone. Come up with a new hero.
Right, exactly.
Like, thank you. I love that. Yeah, that was so good.
Yeah. And in relation to the goal, I think a lot of times writers forget that a comic book is visual, right? So I will tell you. So Huckleberry Finn is one of my all-time favorite novels. Okay, I realize that it's not real popular anymore amongst the all the people, but Huckleberry Finn is one of my all-time favorite novels. The problem with Huckleberry Finn as a quote unquote graphic novel, right? If you were trying to do it as and it's been done. I did an adaptation myself. The problem is that Huck's goal is not super visual, right? Mm-hmm. If you examine what does Huck want, his internal struggle is trying to decide whether the right thing to do is to turn Jim in or not, right? Jim is a runaway slave. Well, that's an internal struggle. So if you're going to watch that, Huck is sitting there going,
right.
Should I? Right. And so while those work for novels, right, and they work great for novels, they're not good for a visual element of comics. So, and that's not to say you can't have internal struggles. You can. Absolutely. I mean, Spider-Man is a great example. But if you read Spider-Man, he's always got an external struggle. There's always something, right. Always Doc Ock, the Vulture, the Lizard, whatever. There's always some external struggle that he has that kind of echoes or mirrors his internal struggle. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that we a lot of independent comics specifically, and I keep saying that because I don't read Marvel and DC anymore, so I can't speak to them.
Right.
I haven't read Marvel and DC, new Marvel and DC. I still buy back issues. All right. I haven't read anything new from them in 20 years. But this is one of the things I see is that they have a protagonist with no real goal. Mm-hmm. And, one of the things that you want to know as a reader, when you pick up the book, you want to know who it is, what they're after, right? I need to know that quick.
Yeah. So what, they just kind of like meander around, or it's very indistinct, or?
Well, I'll give you an example. So you ever read a comic and then get to the end of the comic and go, first, what was that character's name? Right. That's all. I think this is television has creeped into to comics in that a lot of writers have resistance to having the other characters call each other by name, right, Doc? I mean, in conversation, Doc, we don't really do that, right?
Not natively, no, because we know who we're talking to.
Yes, right, and so the problem is people keep pushing it. Well, I need real dialogue. No, you don't. This is entertainment. This is not real. Your comic book is not real. Right?
Yeah.
You have to entertain the audience. And so you have to have your characters call each other by name so that the reader, when they're in the story, they're like, hey, I liked that Doc dude, right? Doc was cool.
Right.
So that they get accustomed to using the name as well.
What's that?
So they get accustomed to using the names as well.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And you only have so much time. It's a different medium. If you have a novel, you've got potentially 200 pages for everybody to ingest this. Right. The other thing that kind of, as I sit here, occurs to me, or I make this connection, is when I was in art school, if you're drawing a live model, and they're just, what you're told to do on paper is push the gesture. Yeah. Because then, like by 20 or 30% automatically, because then you're conveying movement. Because obviously a two-dimensional drawing can't do a three-dimensional object justice. So you push the gesture. So I'm thinking now in the novel to comic connection, there would be like push the like, not novelty of it, but like, what is the word I'm looking for? Like push the entertainment, the campiness, whatever. Push it.
I got the exact phrase for you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So if you've talked to film and TV people, one of their concerns is always budget, right? It's like, oh, well, you can't have but more than 2 characters because, blah, budget. You can't be in more than 1 or 2 settings because of budget. Here's the deal. Ready for this? In comic books, you've got an unlimited special effects budget.
Mm-hmm.
How cool is that?
So why not use it?
Why not use it? Exactly. Why not use it?
That's where the POW and it's a way of conveying that. Yeah.
I mean, why? And that's the thing that frustrates me as a reader is to see people try to take comics and make them television. It's like, why? I've got a TV in there. I can watch it. I want my comic book to be a comic book. If I want to watch TV, I'll go in my living room. Excuse me. I'll go in my living room and I'll watch TV.
I have one very quick question, then I'll let Doc ask another one, though, on that. I agree. So we have television, movies, we have comic books, we have novels for a reason, etc. What's your feeling on treating a graphic novel more cinematic?
Again, Yeah, again, I'm again it. And the problem is this, okay? I mean, I guess if you are the writer, artist, doing everything that you want to do, you can kind of do what you want. But part of the problem is that if you've got, so I'm not a fan of textless panels, okay? Silent panels. If I've got, if I've got my comic book open and there are no words on the panel, I look at the page like this. Why? Right? I just flip through it quickly. Yeah. And I think as a writer, I want the readers to dwell on the panels. I want them to look at the art. I want to read the words. I want them to hear the voices of the characters speaking, right? If there's no words there, and listen,
but it also gives you a way to direct their eyes to go ahead and have them navigate the page the way you intend it.
Exactly. Yeah. And don't mishear me. Don't hear me saying that I'm saying that you cover up all the artwork with words. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that it's a comic book, not a picture book. Right. I gave up picture books when I was 4. Nothing wrong with picture books, right? They're a great way to get started. But I like some meat with my veggies. Yeah. And so give me some words.
The picture's worth 1,000 words, but every now and then dialogue helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to read a comic book. I don't want to look at the pictures. And I'm a fan of art. Don't get me wrong. I love art.
Right. Well, I'm a fan of art. I'm also a fan of the written word, and I like to read. And it's interesting because actually you have a little bit of a different opinion than a lot of people I've heard say, like, I don't want it super wordy. It's a comic book. It's action. It's blah, blah, blah. But obviously you do see comics, and you've always seen comics where there's shitloads of dialogue, shitloads of text. And I actually liked that. Growing up, I was like, I don't care about comic books because I had video games. Right. But if I was going to pick up a comic, I was actually attracted to the ones where there'd be like columns of texts on the side and stuff, along with a great visual. Because I'm like, ooh, I can dwell on this. Like, it's the meat, and I can ingest it. And that's appealing to me. And why not use it?
Yeah. And so one thing I've learned, so I've been able to teach a comic book class for like the last 10 years. Okay. And one of the things that and if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I don't know that I would have said it as strongly as I'm saying it today. Because I always kind of had these thoughts, but it's like now I kind of have proof because I see it in my class, right? I assign my students comic books to read. I give them here's a list, go pick out some comics and go read those. And I make them write about it, right? It's a writing class, so I make them write about it. And almost, without fail, I'm going to say 99% of the time, when the comic doesn't have very many words, they get to the end of the comic and they say, I like the artwork. It was kind of cool. I'm not really sure what the story was about. This guy went and did some of this stuff here, but I'm not really sure why he did this stuff. Right. Yeah. And if you ask me, whenever they say something to me, well, and why is that? I say, well, that's because the writer failed to do their job. Yeah. They didn't give you what you needed in that story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Diametrically opposite of that, they will complain that there's a lot. Oh, this comic book had so many words in it. But here's what they don't do. They never say, I don't know what was happening in this comic. Yeah. Right? They always know, right? They always say, and they always form opinions. I don't like this character because this character was, I don't know, for whatever. But they never end the comic claiming to be confused. Yeah. Where those comics with fewer words, they will end it and say, I don't really know what was going on. In my opinion, a confused reader is one of the worst sins a writer can commit.
Hell yeah. Right. Then where the hell is the incentive?
Right. Yeah.
It's like, commit to what? I don't even know if I'm going to get anything next time.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. I would say I back a lot of independent comics, independent campaigns. I got the little badge up there that says super backer. Right. And so I've read a lot of them, and I will tell you this, if I read 2 issues and I get to the end of it and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And I'll be honest with you, 1 issue will do it for me. If I get to the end and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, I won't back the second issue. Yeah. There's too many others I would rather give a chance, right? Yeah. It's like, okay, I gave you a chance. you didn't do what you're supposed to do. And somebody says, well, they're just learning. They're trying to figure it out. Okay, I get it. I understand that. Mm-hmm. But do some of that learning before you actually, take it out there. Get other people to read it. Get some opinions more than just, mom and dad.
Yeah. It's a lot of homework. Actually, question?
Oh yeah, I've got tons of questions. Looking at the time though, let's go ahead and do a little bit of justice. Can you give us a brief overview of what either one of these books are about that we're running the campaign for? So let's get a little bit of context.
Yeah, so we have two books. One is Friar Rush issue number 3, and just so you know, issues 1 and 2 are both available as well on the campaign. Friar Rush is a bit of a horror. This is the last of the miniseries. It's a 3-issue miniseries. It's the final issue. It's a bit of a horror story. And it's a story of a 15th century demon that his goal is to bring down men of the cloth. And so the story in this one, he has attacked this particular man of the cloth, and this is the final showdown between the demon and the man of the cloth. And it involves a rock concert. Yeah. And in Cape Town is a story. It's a new story by Brent Larson, who's the writer for Kalis. This is his foray into superheroes. And Cape Town is a part of the world that used to have superheroes, but now they're all gone, and no one knows what happens. Well, no one knows what happened to them. Mm-hmm. But suddenly these 2 new heroes show up, one of whom is one of the old heroes, and he doesn't know who the other guy is. So he's after the other guy to try to find out who he is and see if maybe he was responsible for the disappearance of all the other superheroes.
So we don't know if he maybe is or isn't a hero yet.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
He's just
and that's issue 1 on Cape Town?
That is issue 1 for Cape Town, and it will be a 4-issue miniseries.
Oh, cool.
So, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, now, second question to follow up on that, because this is the primary question I wanted to ask before we prompted that. What's the process that you do for Silverline on a production side? What is the involvement Silverline has with the production of an indie comic, or the relationship between indie comics and Silverline?
It varies from
creators.
Sure, it varies from project to project. On some of the projects, I am heavily involved. I can't say, the thing about it is, I did spend the time as an editor. And I can't completely remove my editor's hat. I've tried, and I can't completely remove it. So in some of them, I get pretty heavily involved. I will say this: I'm always heavily involved up front in the story content. Again, we talked enough about story. You guys know why that's important to me. Mm-hmm. So I get super involved in the story early on. Some of the writers come to me and they're like, "Hey, I've already got my artist picked out," and I'm like, "Okay, cool. You run with it. You go do your thing, right?" Some of them are like, "Hey, I just got the story," and then I'll get on board and try to find an artist or an art team for them. Mike Belcher does a lot of our letters, so we kind of have the whole lettering thing locked down. I've got a handful of inkers and colorists who work with us, and so I don't have to search very hard. Usually if I get a new project, I just go, "Hey, Mickey, you want to color a new comic?" And Mickey Clausen is the guy who actually he only colored those covers. Sorry. Okay. He didn't color either the interiors. Sorry, Mickey, if you're listening. But he has colored interiors of a bunch of our. But I just, hey, Mickey, I got another comic. You want to color it? But sometimes, like I said, we do a book called Steam Patriots, and the only thing I've really helped them with is lettering. Mm-hmm. And then a couple of the covers that we got for them. But they do everything themselves. Obviously they sent me the story and I made notes and that kind of thing. But then they took it and ran with it. They do everything. Yeah. So it varies. I'm very particular about the stories, as you might imagine. I'm very particular about the stories. But if you are you want to say, hey, I want to figure out this process. I want to deal with the artist. I want to get that going. Then I'll let you. I'll help. I'll help you figure out how to get things going, and I like doing that. So
take it as a mentorship, the role that you take on, and help wherever you can is what I'm hearing.
Yes, yeah, and I think that might be the teacher in me coming out.
I was gonna say, yeah, that sounds a whole lot like what you do for a day job, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So yeah, it varies. It varies just depending on project to project.
Go ahead, Doc. You have a bunch of questions. I'm gonna let you go ahead.
Oh, keep going with them. Good deal. Okay. As a consumer or a collector myself, I draw a very distinct difference between collectors and dealers. Collectors typically, once it hits our collection, it's our collection, and it won't ever leave our collection.
Right.
The rarity and everything, yes, it lets it hit our collection, but the value of it just giggles to us, and that's about it until our kids get a hold of it and things like that years after we pass. And then you have your dealers that go out there and try to, exactly. I'm looking behind you. Mine's stuffed under a tray and in closets, but and then you have your dealers out there that they will turn comic books like your fans of the trading cards and the sports memorabilia and things like that. And when it comes to content versus cover, what do you think is the contrast or the importance? Is one more important than the other when it comes to marketing in order to hit both markets? Or sorry, was that too big of a question?
No. That is a deep question. So I mean, I'm a story guy, right? And I think
an obvious collector.
Yes, all the stuff you see behind me. These are my comics, right? And yes, I can tell you what's in just about every box.
With eerie accuracy, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's actually a little scary sometimes. Because my son will come in, hey, you told me you had this issue of Spider-Man. I'm like, yeah, it's in that box right there.
Oh my God.
He's got this to change subjects too quickly. He's got this Spider-Man 153. He's got this big cover. I think he picked it up at our website is so you can navigate around, but our website is having issues. We are in the process of trying to upgrade our website right now. So
I'm just trying to get people to look.
Yeah, I saw you go there and I'm like, oh no, the website. But he's got this. I think he picked it up at like Hobby Lobby or something like that. One of these places that has all these bric-a-brac things, and it's a cover, a big cover of Amazing Spider-Man 153. And I looked at it and I said, I got that. It's like, that's mine. And he goes, oh, that's mine. I'm like, I should have that because I have the comic and you don't. And he goes, that's mine. So anyway, he asked me, he's like, and I'm like, yeah, it's in that box right there.
Right there.
So I think, I think I think you have to do both. I don't know that you could say one's more important than the other because you're selling to two. So what we do at this level, certainly, is you're selling to two different kinds of people, right? Now, Kickstarters are primarily to your consumers. So if you don't give them story, why are they going to come back for the next one, right? Mm-hmm. Now, and I get it that you do have some artists out there who just, they can produce something that and they'll do, I'm doing a 200 limited signed and remarked or whatever. And then those go up in value and people want those. I get that. I don't know that we have that kind of draw at this point in time for anything that we do. And we certainly haven't gone out and, I know some of those guys are my friends, but I'm like, I don't have a cover from you. Number one, I'm not sure I can afford it. So I think so one of the things we do, right? I have a local comic shop here. I'm in Orlando, Florida, and there's a local comic shop here, Coliseum of Comics, that supports every Kickstarter we do. All right. He backs at a retailer tier. He gets you have to get 21 copies or more, and they get their logo on it, right? Now what I do is we do variant covers. And so I just send him the covers. I said, which of these covers do you like? And he picks out the cover that he likes. And then I slap the Coliseum of Comics logo on it. And they have a store, a unique store only cover. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah. And it's an exclusive for them. Now, the artwork is going to be the same as write the other edition, but it has, and I don't have one because they're at the store. But it has the Coliseum of Comics logo on it. So you can clearly tell if someone has ever bought the comic, like one of my comics, and I've signed a couple at some of our local conventions, right? They'll bring one up. I'm like, oh, you got this at Coliseum of Comics, cool, right?
Yeah.
Because it has the logo on it. So I think you have to. I think there's two factors. I think you kind of have to do both. I think first and foremost, you got to keep your consumer in mind more than the flip boys or the retailers, right?
Yeah.
Retailers are going to be consumers. Your fans, your readers will stick with you. The others will abandon you in a moment's notice. You know,
something bigger or shinier comes along.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, that's not to say you shouldn't, if they're supporting you. Absolutely, you try to accommodate them when you can. But I think that that you gotta know that you've got the reader support. As you mentioned, the collector support, right?
Yeah.
That's who I want. I want the folks who are going to read it, they're going to put it in a bag, and they're going to stick it in a box, and they're going to say, "This is mine. You can't have it until I die." Right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, I'm dead. Then you can do what you want.
So you recognize them as two totally different markets.
I do. Yeah, I do. And I don't think that one is exclusive. Or I don't know that one is more important. Well, I just said the reader is more important, didn't I? I was trying to get out of that, but I don't think I can.
You have another quick question before you have to jump off?
Probably not a quick one, so you go next.
Oh, no. I think I like where you're going with this. Just try.
Okay, variant covers. How many do you like to shoot for per print?
So I would tell you this, and I shouldn't say this too loud. I'm not a huge fan of variant covers. Okay?
Ooh.
Yeah. And the reason I'm not a huge fan is because for me, it's about the story, right? I mean, I'm a writer, editor. I want the fans reading the content. And sometimes I think if they're getting the variant covers, they're not reading them. That said, we do them because I know that people
like me exist, and we like to collect variants. I get one to read.
Absolutely.
I'm a completionist. I must have them all.
Yeah. So where what did I do with those? I gotta show you my our Kickstarter covers. What?
While you look for those, I
can show you this.
Oh.
All right, so we're doing some foil covers for our Kickstarter exclusives.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. This is so what we've decided to do is that if you back the Kickstarter for the Kickstarter exclusive cover, this is what you're going to get. This one will not be available any other time.
Got it.
If you don't get it during this Kickstarter, you can still get the comic book, right? And you can still get this cover, but it ain't gonna have this gorgeous foil on it, right?
That looks very
that treatment.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. So we've decided that our Kickstarter books will, and I wish I could find my current one. I thought I had it right here on my desk, but I don't. I don't know what I did with it. This is from our last Kickstarter, and I don't know what I did with my current one.
I have a funny question for you before you jump off. Hopefully it's an easy, funny one. If somebody wants to work with you, with Silverline, and they want to submit something to you, what is the number one thing that makes you go, oh my gosh, no, that you see?
Oh my gosh, no?
Art, whatever. What are some of the first things that jump out? You're like, no.
People trying to do something that's too adult. I'm a believer in. I like to see. I want to be able to take this comic and give it to I want you to be able to give it to your 12-year-old niece.
Right.
I'm a big fan in the way Marvel and DC, traditional Marvel and DC books were available. They weren't written right for babies. They weren't written for. But if you read them now, you read them and you go, I see kind of what's going on there, right? They're clever. And I see a lot of people sending, a lot of stuff that I get is very adult stuff. Oh, we're gonna go in and we have this big graphic scene. And I'm like, yeah, listen, I support the right to do it, but that's not for me. Yeah, that's not for me. There's plenty of that available.
I can agree with that for sure. For sure. Yeah. Okay, well, I guess we can let you jump off and get ready for your show, which is in 15 minutes.
Coming up in 15 minutes on this very Madness Network channel, right?
Yeah.
So when we're finished, stay tuned for this direction. Yep, that direction.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on. Me and Dr.
Absolutely.
That was a plethora of information. Thank you. I learned a lot.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to come back on anytime. As you can see, I love comics, right?
Yeah.
I love the medium. I'm very fortunate to be able to teach them at the university that where I work, and of course I make them at night. So you generally, if you get me talking comics, you generally have to shut me up.
I love it.
Well, I would love to expand on some of these conversations later.
Sure.
So I went ahead and followed and liked you on the social medias up there on Twitter and Instagram and things like that. So thank you so much for coming on the show and talking with us tonight.
Absolutely. I look forward to returning.
Yeah, heck yeah. All right. Have a good night. Thank you so much.
See y'all later.
Where's my mouse? Where's my mouse at? Okay. So, Doc, let us then do
run the promos there and
Silverline. Where maybe I don't know what I'm doing. So let me figure it out and get my head together here. Okay. Yep.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Dean Zachary, host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham, where we go beyond politics, beyond calculation, and beyond the big two. Join us each and every Wednesday. Don't miss out.
Hi, I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Fun. I liked that old guy in the wheelchair in the first ad. Okay, so
that was a lot of really good information we got.
Yes, it was very good information.
He's an old school collector like I am, which is very nice to see and smile about.
Did you relate to that?
I kind of a little bit, maybe.
I could literally talk to Roland for like 5 hours and just soak up all the information, and I'd love to hear different stories. I watched some interviews that he did where he was talking about his time at Malibu, and it's just very super cool stuff.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I say I'm going to check out some of his stuff on the social medias and everything else. He seems like a very nice guy, and have to definitely check him out and see what he's got going on. Just like what got him into comics, the Turtles is the same thing that got me into comics, was the original Turtles, being a turtle head. Yeah,
a turtle head. Is that what they call it? Is that?
I don't know. I was just grabbing at straws,
Do you want me to pull up some first world stuff on screen, or do you want to do that or anything?
Well, do you want to see what I just went ahead and created? How do I share my screen? Let me see if I can't figure out how to do that.
I have to make a freaking introduction for this show. What is wrong with me? I need to.
You want to run it? Oh no! Oh wait, you haven't made it. Yeah, never mind. I'm going to shut up.
Yeah, I didn't make it. Okay, you should do it. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Oh, that was me.
That was you?
Yeah, that was my screen.
Okay, well, I found this incredible, cool AI program. Can you see my screen?
Oh, yeah. Katem.
There it is. Yeah, Katem. And what this was able to do is what I did is I went into the create screen and I easiest way to do that is I went ahead and fed it 4 images of one of our characters. The first time I fed it, I just fed it 1 image.
What's the stuff below that? Is that just like preset stuff that comes with the program?
Yeah, that stuff that was just already there when I got the program. So these are other things that are in it.
Crazy.
So you load an image in, and it renders the image in a 3D object. So that you can then export it into a 3D printer for merchandising. You export it into graphics game engine or any number of things. So this was off of 1 image of Above Average Joe that I fed it. And for reference, the image is down here in the corner. Just 1 image.
What?
All I gave it.
Fuck.
And I got a full 3D rendering of it, right? Now we're missing some stuff. We have no eyes. The third eye's missing. There's no real detail or texture.
This is awesome. You know how long that would take to model?
Oh, exactly. And this is just leveraging the power of AI. So I went in and I fed it 4 photos.
Oh my God.
And when I fed it 4 photos, I got a lot more detail in the face. Now it's still not perfect.
Look at the elbow.
But as comparison to what I fed it,
damn, they made you buff as hell.
Right? Yeah, that's the images that I fed it.
Huh. Interesting. Now, what you can export these and like a bunch of different types, like file types, like.
Well, you can export it straight as an STL. I think this is where it got the bent elbows from. Is from this image.
Oh, maybe. Interesting.
So maybe only 3 images of it. I don't know. I've wrote the company an email, and I'm waiting for him to get back to me so I can ask some more questions because this could save just hours upon hours of.
What program are you putting this into though? Then to animate it.
You would upload it into. There's a couple of different engines you can upload it into. Let me see the one.
Unreal, Unity. I'm assuming would be the top 2.
Those are 2 of the game engines you can put it in order to render it very, very quickly. There is another one that I'm playing with called AccuRig.
Okay, gotcha.
So let me see. Is it gonna?
Crazy. Look, when I was in college, we used ZBrush. Don't ask me what the hell is going on with that software anymore because I don't know. I'm out of the damn loop. But that was revolutionary because you could take a tablet, like this drawing tablet I have, and you could draw. And it would 3D model as you drew. It wasn't as intuitive as it sounds at all. But that was still crazy.
Well, as I stepping it into that, you can then export the object into something like this, which is an AccuRig, which allows you to give it a skeletal structure and implant it straight in there just by telling it where the different pieces and components are.
What in the hell? What does this cost?
This is a free download.
What are the system requirements? Can you run it fine?
I'm having no problems running it on my computer, but I haven't really gotten into it. This is something I just started playing with this weekend.
Okay.
Kind of diving headfirst into it, learning how everything is working with it. Instead of leveraging Midjourney and ChatGPT and the different types of AI software that they've got going out there for creators, I've decided to go a different direction and use AI assisted software instead of having it created. I wanted it to use pre-existing characters and pre-existing content, not generate its own.
What was the first software? Go back to that. It looked like Kaleidoscope or something. I'm not going to remember now. It was like Keurig.
Hold on, where am I at here? Here we are. Okay, so I go back.
Kadem. Why? That's just, I automatically know that's something my brain will not fucking remember for some reason.
It is weird, and it is subscription based. There's a trial version, and they time you, and so I can only do 1 image on my trial every 24 hours. So these 2 images that I've done have taken me all weekend just because I'm waiting.
Let me ask you then, if you do 7 characters, 1 a day for like a week, do you get to keep those 3D files after the trial ends?
I've already downloaded these objects. I assume it is a file that is mine to keep. Well, and that's just because of the trial version. Once I go to a full version, which they are a little on the expensive side, just letting people figure out about that.
Yeah. That is sweet shit.
But yeah, it's definitely very interesting as far as how we can go ahead and start leveraging and using a little bit of the power of AI to maybe do some more of the mundane streamline processes as creators.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? I don't understand. Like, everything should be as easy as possible, but not any easier than that. Like using, I know that's a stupid quote, but it's actually a famous quote. I don't remember who said it. But like using AI for everything to me is absolute BS. Yes, Pops, we're going to run the sponsored ads.
Yeah, you got like just about enough time. If you say goodbye and do it now.
Okay. Goodbye, everyone. Here are your ads.
Okay, well, we'll see you next week. Here, let me do the bam. Wait, bam. Okay, there it goes. And roll them.
First world, come in and take a seat. Pay us no attention, it's all conspiracy. We have satire and parody, some funny, some perverse. If none of it's offensive to you, you'd be the first.
All right, everybody, I'm out of here.